Are you looking to kill the Frost Giant in Season 2, T1, T2 Plus? It doesn't matter, whatever season you are in, if you are trying to figure out how to kill this thing, I've got you covered. I'm going to showcase all the abilities you actually need to worry about and the strategy on how you can easily complete this Frost Giant as of now. And when you go into it, you're not going to be blind, and hopefully you and your alliances can get that juicy elite frame. Hello, yes, smash like, comment, and subscribe for more daily videos with me, MrSneakyy, the one and only, and I am covering the Frost Giant. I'm doing basically a nice overhaul on all of the Behemoths, and basically the Frost Giant is one which I really wanted to get done right first time. So what we're going to talk about straight away is all of the abilities and stuff you need to actually worry about when you fight the Frost Giant, right? Because when you first fight the Frost Giant, it might not have any of these buffs, but when you go into, for example, Season 2 Plus or T1, what will happen is you can get this little buff, as you can see on screen with a little S2, right? So if your Frost Giant doesn't have that, it just means it's a little bit easier. But if it does have it, what it means is whenever the Frost Giant destroys one of the icicles, and this is via one of the abilities it owns, it's going to be recovering 2% of its maximum HP. So it's very, very key to remember that when you're going into the next seasons. So let's go now into the actual abilities that you're going to need to know about when you're fighting the Frost Giant. So the abilities, I'm going to go over quickly the things that the tank, if you are a tank player, that you're going to have to worry about, because the tank does have a little bit of abilities that it has to worry about, right? So if you're looking at this screen, for you guys, it's easily Fury Swing into the Stomp, into Icebreaker, and then finally Skull Shaker. These are just basically abilities that you're going to have to dodge, maybe some area of effect, slams, and big ranges, which we'll showcase in the gameplay side. So just get ready for that. But when we're going into now the more intricate bits, I've got some gameplay footage just to showcase as I explain it, right? So the snowball fight. This is basically an ability that will occur during the phase, right? The phase, I will explain fully before we go into the gameplay, but it will throw a snowball at a ranged legion. And depending where that really ranged legion is, it will obviously deal damage to all legions, but it can also destroy the icicles, as you can see. So very, very important to obviously dodge this and make sure you're in a good position. The next ability that I actually want to talk about is going to be, more importantly, as you can imagine, the Snow Boulder and the Howling Winds. These are both part of, like, the main phase, and this is basically, like, what can make or break the whole raid. So what's going to happen is Howling Winds, these are going to trigger, causing all of the enemies to be airborne and knocking them to the other side of the lair. And then you're going to be in this Snow Boulder minigame. And it's one of the most ruthless minigames because one person's going to get targeted. And if anyone is in that line, guess what? You are all dead. So you have to basically either do two different strategies, which I'm going to explain, obviously, when we get there for that. But this just showcases you guys, okay, this is what that ability is. And then the final ability I really want to go over, which is the really important one, is going to be the Frost Spires. So these Frost Spires, as you can see, will spawn over the time of the raid. And what happens is these do tend to only target the mage players. And this is very key when it comes up to the strategy side of the raid. So let's just break into now the strategy side. Since we've gone over right there, honestly, the main abilities that you need to know, if you need to just rewatch it, just rewatch it. It's an easy, quick explanation, nothing complicated for you guys. So let's go into the strategy now, all involved in this Frost Giant. So just before the strategy begins, you just remember when we are covering the elite raids are different to the normal raids, right? So if you are going forward and fighting an elite Frost Giant raid, the things you do need to be careful of, as you guys will check and know, is the increase on stats. Everyone will know this. The enemy legions, meaning our legions, get 50% less healing. And then this is the ability I kind of did touch on during some of the phases, where the Behemoth, when it has 75% or more HP, it is immune to all magic damage. So once you get below that 75% threshold, you're going to start doing maximum damage with the mages and the archers. Because in this raid, you will need both. Because when you reach 25% remaining HP, you'll see he's immune to all physical damage. So then, after taking damage from the Frost skill, My Cave, My Rules, enemy legions cannot cast artifact skills in the next battle. So basically, once you've gone through the very first phase, you're not going to be able to actually use your artifacts. So make sure you get those artifacts triggered as fast as possible, and you're going to be good as gold, right? So that's basically the elite stuff. And just remember, if you want the frame, you're going to need to do it within the time of 6 minutes 30. And you need to be the first alliance in your server in order to get that frame, right? So just remember all those requirements. And now let's go into the gameplay strategy side of everything you're going to need for this Frost Giant. And welcome to the strategy side. So we've got this nicely planned out for you before we go head on into the gameplay commentary, which will bind everything together and complete the guide, right? So now we know what the abilities are, and what we're going to go for is basically some general strategies here, right? So the main strategy that a lot of players go for is basically the cheese strat that currently works. Obviously, if it doesn't work as of, you know, maybe getting patched, that's where we're going to go over the second strategy, just to cover both bases for you guys. But currently, what the main strategy is, you have a nice split of mages and archers within this actual Frost Giant raid. Because when you're in this Frost Giant raid, it's very important to split the damage. Because in the first 25% of it, all the magic damage is immune. And then in the next, basically, 50% of damage, everyone is good, and then in the last 25%, it's going to be only magic that can obviously carry out this like Frost Giant, and it's just DPS, 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 basically as hard as you can. But that's in the elite raid, right? That is in the elite raid, just to remind you. If you're going into a normal raid, it's going to be a lot easier, that we're going to explain. So, the strategy one that we're going to go for is the cheese strategy. So, the cheese strategy is pretty simple to follow. So, as we know, the mages are going to get targeted by the icicles. So what you can do is a really cool strategy where you actually place 3 different icicles all in this like line here. So you create a wall that you can obviously hide behind and protect yourself, right? What this does is it means you as an alliance and the murder ball will most likely be positioned on this like front, and then the main T5 player or 2 T5 players that do the main amount of damage in your alliance are normally located on this top line, because they will have the aggro of obviously the Frost Giant while everyone else here is piling in on the damage. So what you want is your mages not in this main murder ball. Your main mages are going to be positioned just in front of these icicles, as you can imagine, because what they want to do is, as soon as they get the icicle on them, they're going to just move into this area and create this wall for you. And the reason you're doing this is to create the cheese strat, because when we go into the snowball phase, what you want to do is, you'll notice it's a bit of a weird one, but the Frost Giant currently kind of hits like that. So if you can position your troops in this little like cubby hole here, and there's actually one right up at the top here as well, which doesn't look like it, but it does work if you do get your troops in there at the right position. What you're able to do is actually dodge the snow boulder phase, and it allows whoever is on this side to basically just walk straight into this zone, pick up some stones, and start DPSing down on the Frost Giant, which is really, really good, right? So that's the cheese strategy. The normal strategy, if you're going to do this, is pretty simple. You can actually have your entire alliance spread nice and evenly. Because what you kind of want to do is position your icicles to be in kind of this sort of position, right? And you do get access to 6 icicles. So if you really wanted to, you can make it like this. And you have your main murder ball here and your same setup with your T5 players here. The reason why you're doing this is because the cheese strategy might not work, and you might not be able to do it, right, in the future. So what you're going to do instead is just obviously move your troops here to obviously hide behind any of the damage that you're going to see during the gameplay. And then once that is done, all you're going to do is actually complete the snow boulder phase correctly, when you're going to make your march go from this side and walk all the way to this side, right? So I hope that makes sense, and hopefully it should make sense if you've actually watched those basic abilities, and you'll understand with a little bit of a gameplay pop-up what things visually will look like. So now let's go into when I was helping out and recording these big boys, FS, actually kill their elite Frost Giant in Season T1 and get that elite frame with, honestly, one amazing clean run. And welcome to the gameplay side, right? So now we've got everything in together, right? So you can even see in our alliance here, we've even got the markers. So you can see all the markers, boop, 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 all around, right? So we've got the ice drop-off marker 2 and 1. So you can place it in between those markers. You're good. And you can even see just above my head, you know, right there, Cubby 2 and Cubby 1 we can get into, right? So right now, if we actually just pause it there, we're just going to go and explain this ice mechanic now, because we can actually visually see it happening in the game, right? So if you pause it, and if you've noticed, there's no real visual indicator apart from if you're looking carefully at your march. But on the ground right now, if we have a cheeky look, you're going to notice that the mages have a little blue aura, right? So this little blue aura, and it is, you know, it goes around this zone, right? And it's around A back, as you can see from drawing that, right? So he's in charge of this icicle, and you can see there's one here, and there's actually two located on top of each other here, right? So it's a little bit of a scare if you're playing mages, but you'll notice from actually the guys, they do position it really well. So if we just rotate the camera, look at this, quickly moves up. And then, boom, they're in, like, all in this tight line. So you can see now, there's two on ice drop-off 2, and there's one almost in the top zone, right? But it's nothing to worry about, because you're going to get another icicle drop during it, right? Because that's kind of what I wanted to break in this gameplay, is the phase of the Frost Giant. So if you're wondering how the whole raid is set up, it is set up in a specific manner, but it can be a little bit weird on the actual timings, you'll notice. So the way it works is pretty simple. You have your DPS phase, as you see now, then you'll get your first set of icicles. So this is this, right? After these icicles, you're going to get a snowball, meaning if you're not in the right position, these icicles are going to get destroyed. Then what you can do then is get another icicle phase. So then you can replace these icicles, and once that icicle phase is over, generally around 10 to 20 seconds later, give or take, right, is gonna start the snowboulder thing and the howling push. So what you're gonna need to do is then run to these icebergs, and then obviously do the strategy, what you're gonna choose, and then finish the snowboulder phase, and then that's kind of like one phase complete. So now you're going into phase 2, and you'll notice in phase 2, it's a little bit different. You'll get your icicles, you'll get your snowball, you might get your icicles, and then you might get a snowball again, and then it might wait a little bit longer, and then it might go for the charge. It's a little bit weird in the second phase, but that is generally the timeline on the abilities. And you're going to notice that now when we go into it, right? So here is one of just the tank abilities you want to dodge, you know, the big red AoE. Try and dodge that if you can, because he's locked in place. And right now you can see he's doing the snowball, right? And it's really going to destroy, look, those icicles. And it wasn't too bad, because it's not end of the world, because we get 3 more icicles here, and it's better to get 3 really good place icicles than having just like 6 badly placed ones. So you'll notice now that snowball phase is over. He's still immune to magical damage. It's around, I think, the 2.6 or 2.79 marker when mages start to do damage. You'll see the immunity now, there we go, disappears. It's 2.7 there around, and then you're going to start being able to do all magical damage. But look at those icicle drop-offs, right? Nicely placed icicle drop-offs. Even one gets destroyed, you can see everyone though already moving to that position, because we know this is the Howling Winds phase that we were stressing on about. And this is now you're going to get to kind of see the cheese strategy if it's available to be used. Obviously it might get patched, but you're going to be able to see this happen right now with some players making it, some players not making it. I didn't make it, but look at all those players who did, right? So now you're in the normal snowboulder phase. And this is where I'm going to suggest 2 strategies again for you guys to complete this, because there is a couple of ways, right? You can try the basically speed run route, and the only way I'm going to suggest this is if you've got voice comms, because what it's going to mean is your whole alliance here is basically going to have 1 or 2 players hang back, and that basically allows the giant to focus them. For some reason, we don't know why, it always targets the furthest one sometimes. So you always keep 2 hanging back, and everyone else, and it sounds crazy, but everyone else is going to bundle and move straight down as one line, right? If someone does get targeted in this line, all you've got to do is honestly move out of the line and get yourself potentially killed, or just keep moving. You might dodge it, right, if you got enough march speed. Because if you stay in this line, you're going to get everyone killed and it's going to be a wipe. So it's very important you do that, right? The other way you're supposed to actually do this, if you don't want to go around that charge, is pretty simple. You're going to see all of these icicles, and what you're supposed to do is move to these icicles and obviously hide behind them, because he's going to start launching this snowball at like missile launcher speed, killing you in 1 shot, and then you're basically going to then move, you know, as far up, right? And that's kind of like the whole game plan of it. So you're going to see this actually get played out from us. So you can see right now, everyone's starting to slowly move down to the bottom. I'm kind of just playing out the mechanic to showcase it for you guys in the raid. But if you notice here, we've got it working. So Nagayoshi is going to get targeted, and he's the furthest member kind of away from everyone right now. And he gets targeted, if we look, again, because he's now the furthest one again. So if you can see that, you're able to manipulate this, and you see everyone here working together and getting over. And then I'm obviously on the top side, kind of catching up, right? So that is pretty much the scary bits all explained and showcased for you. This was obviously the fast strat that you could see on screen, but my march did kind of a slower strat, so you can kind of see both going if you kind of rewatch it and maybe focus on my march first and then maybe focus on the murder ball after, and then you'll understand how both are done, right? But here is now, honestly, the elite raid run. So now, as you can see, we're on 1.4 million at 3 minutes. And that is an amazing time you need to be at. I'm not going to lie, because the mage damage is the one that's the hardest one to pull off. And it's after you've completed that snowboulder phase where, to be honest, as long as you guys are really locked in, you are maximum DPSing. I'm not going to lie. You can basically ignore all of the mechanics, because if you've hit that threshold where I said around 1.4, 1. You know, anywhere around there, you are going to be focusing on DPS, because now, as you'll notice, look, the DPS immunity is triggered by the archers, so there's no archer damage now. It's purely magic, and you have to try and get this through. And mages honestly do not really do the best damage, do they, right, in raids, let's be honest. But look, this is your challenge. You've got basically 3 minutes and 30 if you can get that timer. And if you do, you're going to get the elite raid frame. And you're going to watch us guys honestly lock in, because all of us here, even I'm kind of like blocking a lot of the boys here. If we just go that way, like everyone is non-stop firing. Like the only time we're moving is if it's like some sort of like ability just in case. But even then, we'd most likely just tanking it. And a really good strat here as well, just to give you like another tip and trick if you're still watching it all the way to the end, is if your mages, as you can see, like our mages here, are like near a, you know, sort of healing stone like the one below, if they're near a healing stone, the archer players need to take that healing stone, because if any of the mages have taken any sort of damage throughout the raid, you're going to basically heal them, as you can see now, for free. So you're not dealing any damage, you're basically useless, so you can help your team by supporting them with the heal. So while all the mages you can see here are doing all the DPS, The archers are coming in to support and heal up those mages to give them more DPS so they've got the highest troop count as possible to finish this raid. And you can see it's cutting it close. We're on 5 minutes and 20 seconds. 1 minute and 10 to go. We're on 140,000 DPS left to go. Now under 100,000. Going to the 70k. 50k, under 40,000, and there we go on 5 minutes and 36 seconds. Boom! We actually killed the elite red frame. And if you follow my guide here in its ultimate guide setup where you can see all the abilities, the strategy, and so on, you will also be able to join me and all of these guys on having the elite raid frame. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video on the Frost Giant, how to kill it, how everything works, and how you can easily smash this in Season 2, maybe 2+, and T1 if you are in it. So until then, guys, smash a like, comment, and subscribe. You know what I'm like. I'm here every single day. And until the next video, guys, stay safe, stay sneaky, and peace out.